Everyone tells you to enjoy your 20s while they last because being in your 20s is a unique experience and it's not something that you'll ever be able to get back. But it's hard to enjoy it when you're trying to maintain afloat, when you're trying to balance all these things, to learn through all these things, your heartaches and your pains and your struggles and your mistakes. When you're in your 20s, that's like kind of the first time you get to experience true detrimental consequences to yourself. In case you're new here, my name is SK, and welcome to Heartstatic, the podcast where we tune into the thoughts, feelings, and everything we're too afraid to say out loud. I feel like everyone tells you that your 20s suck, especially your early 20s. The frontal lobe isn't developed, and there's so much pressure to make so many life decisions. Education or major, your occupation, relationships. People tell you to enjoy it, but you have no goddamn idea what you're doing. And the 20s, your 20s are... That's a whole decade. That's such a vast amount of time. There's so much change that's happening in your life. I had a coworker who was 29. Is 29. She's still alive. I had a coworker who is 29. There we go. And I'm 21. We are in vastly different parts in our lives. And we've learned different things to get to where we are. And her 29 isn't going to look like my 29. And her 21 probably didn't look exactly like my 21. There's so much that goes on within those quick math, 8 years in between us. My coworker, she's a whole person. I'm faking it. I'm considered an adult legally. I can drink, get a tattoo, but I don't know what I'm doing. People get married in their 20s. People start their PhD at 20s. People get pregnant in their 20s. People have their first house at their 20s. I want to know where and how they're doing that last one. That'd be fun. But I feel like your 20s is such a strange time because everyone's at a different point in their lives. Everyone is doing their own thing and trying to figure it out. And maybe you're unmarried, unemployed, and maybe you're living at home with your parents because you couldn't afford to live on your own. And you see friends of yours that you've grown up with, that you've made in college, that you've made at work, getting married and starting families and getting on with their lives. And you look down at yourself and you're like, I'm nowhere near that. I am not even close to even thinking about that. And that can feel suffocating. That can feel absolutely awful, especially with social media. Nowadays, we have instant connection with each other. We know what everyone is doing all the time. Now it's a thing to have our friends' locations on at all times. It really kind of is unavoidable to not compare yourself. If you're both, 27, you're alone with your parents trying to pay off student debt, and your friend's wedding is in a week, how else are you supposed to feel other than shitty? Obviously happy for your friend for getting married, but achieving that goal in the person that you're in doesn't feel real, doesn't feel possible. But comparison is the enemy. Comparison will drag you down, and it will let doubt seep into your brain and be like, why didn't I get married in my 27-year-old life? Why is my career not skyrocketing? Why do I feel so stuck? It's awful, but you can't let yourself drag you down. The voice in your head, as mean as it can be, you gotta change the tune. You gotta change the way it's speaking to you. You have to stop comparing yourself to other people. You are not them. Maybe them getting married at 27 was the right thing for them, and it's just not right for you. That doesn't mean you'll never get married. That means your career will never skyrocket. It will never do the way you want it to. That doesn't mean any of your dreams won't ever come true because you're not married or super rich at 27. And that's just another thing that you'll have to learn in your 20s. How comparison can hold you back from those dreams because you're worried you're not achieving them. That's like seeing your friend on a bench eating a chocolate bar. And you're like, I want that chocolate bar so bad. So bad. Give me that chocolate bar. But that's theirs. You can't have their chocolate bar. And all you gotta do is, turn around, see the other bench that has your chocolate bar waiting for you. But you're not turning around because you're just so, I don't know, maybe jealous, so obsessed with the idea of your friend's chocolate bar. How did they get it? Where did they find it? And it's not dawning on you to turn around and get that chocolate bar that's waiting for you. All you have to do is turn around and walk over to that bench and grab it, and then unwrap it, and then eat it, and then have your, shit together. And there's I mentioned already, the frontal lobe. I've heard the mythological experience of your frontal lobe developing. It's something that a 20-something goes through, where your frontal lobe develops usually around 25, 26, when all of a sudden you can pay taxes, I guess. Handle challenges without freaking out super bad. Maybe that's what I'm hoping. But before the frontal lobe develops, what are we supposed to do in the meantime? Adulting before your frontal lobe develops, there's this weird shift in consciousness. Like, you're acting differently than you were when you were in your teens, but you're just not cognitively there yet. Or you feel like you are, which makes it worse, I think. Perhaps you're aware that you're doing all the wrong things and you just don't care. Or you do care and you just don't know how to fix it, where to go from here. You're doing something wrong, something doesn't feel right, but you don't know what to do to change that. And you're balancing all this on top of maintaining a social life. If you're in school, studying for classes. If you're in work, carrying a job. If you are trying to find a job, finding a job. Maybe maintaining a relationship or finding a relationship, figuring out who you are without your parents, who you are without a partner, who you are without your friends. No one really guides you into it because there's no right way to guide someone. Everyone's different. What might work for one person might not work for another. Everyone needs to learn different things at different times. There's something that you might have nailed at, 18 that someone can't nail until after the frontal lobe develops. Or right before, or in their 30s. And then vice versa. You might not be able to grasp that thing that you've been struggling with until you're 26. Big adults say trial and error, or stick with the traditional route, even if, it sucks the soul out of you, because you'll get to where you need to be. But I think this idea just makes big adult give up on the whole concept of trying to guide you at all, thinking, oh, they'll figure it out because I did, everyone always does. Which, yeah. That might be true. But it's not comforting at all. That's not helpful for us. Everyone tells you to enjoy your 20s while they last, because being in your 20s is a unique experience, and it's not something that you'll ever be able to get back. But it's hard to enjoy it when you're trying to maintain afloat, when you're trying to balance all these things, to learn through all these things, your heartaches and your pains and your struggles and your mistakes. When you're in your 20s, that's kind of the first time you get to experience true detrimental consequences to yourself, to the things that you do, the choices you make. And we have to learn how to sit with that. We have to learn how to sit with the shame and the guilt and the sorrow that it is, the loneliness that we experience when we're in our 20s. Because, everyone, you and your friends are presumably all in your 20s and you're watching this or listening to this. It's this weird isolating feeling that everyone's on the same path as you, but miles away. You're all going through the same things, but you're all experiencing it differently. And it's lonely. It's isolating. And as much as you'd like to ask someone for help, they can give you as much advice as you want, but will it fit? Will it work for you? I feel like there are some wasted opportunities here, where if you were just be given one good piece of advice, you'd get to where you need to be. You get over that hump, rather than floundering about. Don't worry, you'll flounder anyway. The waves will get big and crash on top of you, and you won't know if you'll make it to shore. But you deserve a life jacket, because you need assurance that you will make it. In this decade of our lives, I can't help but imagine that I'm not the only one who thinks I'm gonna eventually be a self-sufficient adult. And then self-sufficiency, what does that mean? Does that mean I'm financially free? Does that mean I'm capable of confrontation? Does it mean I'll be able to pay my taxes? Clearly, I'm very afraid of figuring out how to pay for my taxes. Sure, you have no idea what your life will look like later. You will probably be a whole different person in 5 years, in 1 year, in a month, tomorrow. But why do you have to let yourself swallow so much water and feel like you're absolutely drowning in the meantime? I came up with a few, if we're going to stick with a metaphor here, life jackets as you enter adulthood. I'm just to remind you again, I'm 21 years old. What the fuck do I know? I've been told I'm mature for my age. Who knows, maybe I'll come back to this video and be like, wow, every single one of these points was wrong and dumb and stupid. Or I'll be like, oh, I was totally, absolutely right. I can never do any wrong ever. That would be nice. All right, number 1, you're young and dumb. Take advantage of it. Don't waste your 20s waiting for you to have enough money to travel the way you want to, waiting for the love of your life, waiting for the right moment. There's no right moment. You can't spend the rest of your life with your head down and refuse to take advantage of the opportunities that you have before you. And opportunities that could mean, taking that job offer that's super far away and you have to move, buy a one-way ticket, or the opportunity is just being in your 20s. Maybe Big Adult is right in that way, where it's like you have to take advantage of the oscillation between innocence and maturity. Take the opportunity to do the impulsive risks that you feel so confident in doing in your 20s, because maybe that'll propel you to maybe find out that the opportunity was a mistake, that the risk wasn't what you needed it to be, and then you know what to do after. Once you make that risk, once you make that decision, yeah, it'll probably suck. If it ends up sucking, it'll suck hard. Okay. If you do take that risk and it doesn't end up working for you, you'll be able to see it clearly on the other side. Hindsight is always 20/20, even if it takes a bit of time. Or if it does end up well, maybe you find something that you're not even intending to find. And I feel like that's the beauty of taking a risk. And I need to take my own advice, because I have been most of my life keeping my head down and being too afraid to step out of the rules, get out of my comfort zone, and step out of the rules that I made for myself. I mean, starting this podcast is me stepping out of the box I built for myself. If I were to go back in time and meet myself a year ago and say, hey, you started a podcast and you're on YouTube. If you're not watching this on YouTube, you should go watch this on YouTube at heartstaticpodcast. And you're on YouTube. I wouldn't believe me. I would be like, you're full of shit. I'd be like, no. Why would I ever do that? But the risks that you take, the impulsivity that tends to come with quote-unquote immaturity can be beautiful. It can project you into learning so much about yourself, about your qualities, about the potential for you to grow. And the opportunities may be small, depending on the type of person you are. Maybe you want to go to a hockey game and you've never been to one ever, or haven't been to one that you really remembered. So go to it alone. Go on that long weekend with your friends. Buy that jacket you've dreamed of having, that you've had your eye on for months, a year. And that's not to say go splurging all the time, throw your money away, savings a bitch. Well, savings is a bitch, but it's important. Don't waste your money. But like I said, you can't keep your head down either. It's a thing that you have to balance. You can't lean too far on the cautious side or too far on the risk taker side in order for you to get to reach your 30s. Because if you do reach your 30s and have been heavily leaning on one side or another, I want to say you essentially wasted your 20s. You wasted the opportunity to learn. You can't always lean on the safe side of things if you expect to grow. And you can't lean on the risk side of things if you expect to be successful in your 20s. And by risking, I mean like being irresponsible with money, like I said, or going and drinking every night or every weekend instead of taking the time to recuperate and work on your body and, practice habits that will help you become a more organized and routine-focused individual. It's important to find the balance, but only you can figure out what that balance means for you. You can only determine what's right for you by trial and error. As Big Adult has been telling us, just figure it out. You got it, I sure did. I guess that's a Canadian mom. I don't know, just these voices just come out of me, man. Don't be afraid to try. Don't be afraid to stick your head out the window and feel the temperature. Feel what it means to be you. Maybe what would help you is to imagine what you'd like to be like in your 30s, in your 40s, and create steps, create routines that will help you achieve that goal. And some of the routines, some of the habits that you create might not be working after a while. You realize, like, this isn't getting me to where I want to be. So then you change it, then you alter it, then you learn what you want from yourself. You learn the person that you want to become. This isn't something that just happens to you. You don't wake up in your 30s and you're like, wow, I'm all set. Wow. I think I just closed my eyes at, 19 and I woke up and here I am. Or everything I did in my 20s doesn't matter because I figured it out. Because I woke up magically and it all got figured out for me. No one's gonna hand it to you. It's something that you have to take for yourself. Okay, number 2, give yourself grace. Everyone makes mistakes, some worse than you, some better than you. And you can go back to my episode 2 of Imposter Syndrome to hear about one of my big fuck-ups. I love telling that story because it's so awful. And like I said in the episode, everyone cringes every time I say it. And I just want to make you cringe. But I want to show you your mistakes can suck. That's the whole point, though. Unfortunately, Big Adult is right in saying that trial and error is a thing. What I've been saying is probably, hopefully true if the real adults are saying it. But you need to remember that everything will work out the way you want it to if you work for it. Whatever it is that you desperately wanted from yourself might not be what you need it to be. It might not work out if you do take that risk, if you do make that choice, and it doesn't work out the way you want it to. It ends horribly. Maybe that means it wasn't meant for you. You're meant for something better. You're meant to be stopped in your tracks on that path and get rerouted. Have faith in yourself and your capabilities. You don't have to have faith in the universe. You have to have faith in yourself that you will figure it out. But you have to give yourself grace. You have to be able to forgive yourself if you do make a choice that doesn't end up working out for you. If you're not confident in something about yourself, work on that. Or question, why isn't this working for me? Really, really take the time to dive deep into what aspects of yourself you feel can be changed or you want to change. Things that will benefit you in the long run. But one of the worst things that you can do to yourself is beat yourself up for not getting it right the first time. A friend of mine has recently started saying that we're all on this earth for the first time. And I think that's a beautiful, beautiful thing to remember. Obviously, that's not meant to condone people who keep making the same mistake after you've confronted them multiple times. Hey, I don't like it when you do that. Or, hey, this choice that you're making is affecting me negatively. And they say sorry and keep doing it because it's their first time on this earth. That's not an acceptable thing. And if you are that person that keeps apologizing for the same behaviors they're being confronted by and not changing it, that is something that you have to work on. You have to go through that trial and error of trying to figure out why you do those things, why you constantly find yourself going through that same cycle, doing these same bad behaviors, drinking all the time, swearing at people, beating people up on the street. No, I'm kidding. I don't know if people actually, unless you do that. Don't beat people up on the street. Don't commit crimes. These hands don't commit crimes. But then that's a part of yourself that you should be working on. Why do I always find myself getting so angry whenever somebody brings up my grades? Why do I feel so uncomfortable with the concept of talking to someone else about my feelings? These questions are important to ask yourself because this will get to the root of the immaturity, that you have in your 20s. And I'm not saying that once you hit your 30s, you're flaw-free. I really doubt that. I really don't think as soon as you hit 30, you're like, wow, I'm perfect. But that's, again, your 20s are a time where you should be diving deep into yourself and thinking, like, why am I acting this way? Why am I acting so immature? Why do I feel so uncomfortable with the concept of confronting who I am? Ask yourself these questions. And if you do decide to answer them and find a way to get yourself out of this cycle of bad habits, bad behaviors, then I really feel that you'll be in a very different spot than where you were a month ago, a year ago, however long it takes. Number 3, recognize how far you've gotten. You're not the same person that you were. You are still in the same body, though that's probably changed since you were 1. But think about who you were at 18, moving to college, maybe moving away from your parents for the first time, or starting a job after high school, nervous about this new period in your life where you have to learn how to be independent and on your own and self-sufficient in some way. The friends that you might make, the enemies that you might make. It's a life-changing thing once you graduate high school. And then think back further when you were 14 or 15 and just starting high school, and that's another shift in your life. A teenager with raging hormones and rebelling, or maybe you were the one that quietly studied and did as they were told and didn't say much, really, because you didn't know how. Think about when you were just 10, just turning double digits. Think about that birthday, about the friends that were at your birthday party, or whoever you spent your 10th birthday party with, how they might not be in your life anymore, how they're still in your life. I'm sure that in all of these moments, all of these ages, there were times where you dream about being an adult, about being where you are, the age that you are today. Excited to feel what it would be like to be you right now. If you're annoyed with the way you are now, or feeling you're not getting it right, you should be. You're not supposed to be getting it right. You're not done. You're not done getting it wrong. You're not stuck in the type of person that you are now. You're not stuck. You're not going to be forever in your 20s, forever reliving this cycle, this suffering that you might be experiencing, trying to juggle all of these different aspects of your life. You will be juggling them all, always. You'll just get better at it. You're going to go through more heartache, more learning, more life-changing transitional experiences that will create the perspective of who you are when you're 30, you're 40, you're 50, the rest of the decades of your life. Remember how perfect it is to be in the position that you are right now. Realize that being where you are, you're lucky. You've gone through so much already. And you've made it. You're here listening to or watching me. And you might be thinking to yourself, like, there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that I'm waiting for, that you just have to go and take it. Be grateful for where you are now, because you'll never be here again. You'll never be 21 years old again on whatever day it is that you're watching this, or whatever age you are. You'll never be here today again. The concept of the present isn't real, because as soon as you think now is the present, that was a second ago. Time keeps moving on. Time keeps changing. You keep changing, and you'll have to learn eventually that you change with it, whether you like it or not. The only thing that you can do is try to figure out how you want to change, how you want to evolve. Things will happen to you regardless. That's just the way the world works. But what matters is how you respond to it, how you react to it, what you do afterwards. That will determine the type of adult that you become. That will determine the type of real adult that you become. That's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you like my intro-outro music, they were made by my friend, Dari Kolchitsky, and you can find more of his information at warmglowrecords.com. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow this podcast wherever you find yours. Also follow the Instagram at heartstaticpodcast, where I post questions, updates, clips of previous episodes, and anything you want, really. Just let me know. You can also listen and watch this podcast episode on YouTube at heartstaticpodcast. I've also posted previous episodes that just have the audio in case you wanted to take another listen to the first 3 episodes. And I'll see you in the next episode.